Thank you all for joining today's update on COVID-19 in North Carolina. As of today, we have 5,123 confirmed cases in our state, 431 people in the hospital, and 117 deaths. As with every day, our prayers are with those fighting this virus and the families and friends of those who've lost their lives. Orders to stay at home and limit occupancy in stores are in effect, as well as bans on large gatherings and closures of certain types of businesses that can't practice social distancing. And I'm sure I don't need to remind parents out there that schools are closed. But because of these measures and the good work of North Carolinians, our hospitals are not overwhelmed right now. Hospital beds, ICU beds, and ventilators are available. North Carolina has the capacity to treat patients who contract the virus. Our efforts to flatten the curve are working, and that means we have saved lives. The stay-at-home orders are working, but we know our current situation is not sustainable in the long run. We can't stay home forever. And I know people are wondering, where do we go from here? On Monday, I talked about significant efforts underway to consider when and how we'll be able to ease restrictions. Today, I want to share more about what's going into those considerations. This virus is going to be with us until there's a vaccine, which may be a year or more away. That means as we ease restrictions, we're going to enter a new normal. We want to get back to work, while at the same time preventing that spike that will overwhelm our hospitals with COVID-19 patients. Today, I want to tell North Carolinians that in order to ease restrictions, we need to make progress in 3 areas: testing, tracing, and trends. First, testing. Our new normal relies on an increase in testing capabilities to isolate and track new cases of COVID-19. This means having the supplies and lab capacity to do more diagnostic testing, as well as reliable antibody testing that can tell us who has had the virus. Dr. Cohen is bringing together partners from the public and private sector to coordinate efforts to ensure that testing is widely available across the state. And I'll let her talk more about that in a minute. Second, tracing. We have to boost our public health workforce to trace and track new cases of COVID-19. Contact tracing can be effective in containing new outbreaks, but it requires a lot of people and a lot of legwork. When a new positive case pops up, the tracing efforts will work to identify people who've been in contact so that they can get tested and take the right precautions. Our North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services will enter partnerships with universities and hospitals and others that will increase our public health workforce and get this job done. And finally, trends. In order to ease restrictions, we have to see COVID-19 trends move in the right direction. That includes trends in the number of new positive cases, the numbers of people in the hospital, the numbers of deaths, as well as how that works with the available supply of personal protective equipment, hospital capacity, and more. We know we must continue to protect our state, especially the most vulnerable and high-risk people, even after we've eased certain restrictions. Until we have a vaccine or effective and available treatment, these people are still uniquely at risk. In our new normal, we will still have to decrease the risk of exposure for older people and those with underlying health conditions, and continue strong precautions in nursing homes and other congregate living settings. In our new normal, you may see more people wearing masks or having their temperature checked. A restaurant you may go into may have tables that are only partially full. The only sporting events or concerts that you may be able to watch for a while will have no in-person crowds. A new normal can get us back to work, back to school, and back to play, but in a new way for a while. Experts tell us it would be dangerous to lift our restrictions all at once. Rather than an on-off light switch, think about it more as a dimmer switch, which can be adjusted incrementally. As we slowly bring the lights back up, we have to monitor for troubling signs of a spike in cases that could overwhelm our hospitals and risk lives. So getting this right, testing, tracing, and trends, is the most important step. It will lead to getting our state's economic recovery right, too. Sending people back to work and school while making sure recovery money is flowing to people and small businesses is absolutely essential. So are the right public health measures to give each other confidence that we can go back to our lives safely and that health care will be there when we need it. Now, I know the changes that we've all made in our lives seem to have happened very quickly. And it's important to understand that undoing those changes won't happen as fast. To protect our health and long-term economic prosperity, we have to act with care rather than haste. Like everybody else, I'm anxious to get North Carolina back to normal. But we have to be realistic for a while. There will be a new normal. As we adjust, I know that North Carolinians will continue to look out for one another as we work together to recover our economy and beat this virus. And we will beat this virus. With me today, I have our Secretary of Health and Human Services, Dr. Mandy Cohen, our Secretary of Public Safety, Eric Hooks, and our Director of Emergency Management, Mike Sprayberry. Karen Magoon and Nicole Fox are providing American Sign Language. And as always, behind the scenes, Jackie and Jasmine Mativier are our Spanish language interpreters. Dr. Cohen, I'll recognize you.
Thank you, Governor. Thanks to your leadership, we've been taking aggressive action, and the good news is it's working. We're flattening the curve, and fewer people are getting sick at the same time. Because we acted early, and because we acted together, we have averted the devastating scenarios we've seen playing out in other parts of the country and across the globe. As the Governor said, we now need to look ahead at how we keep doing that. How do we stay ahead of the curve? Knowing that this virus is going to be with us for some time, that it's a highly contagious virus, and that for some, this virus is very dangerous. As with all our decisions, Our next steps will be driven by science and data. Our plan is to stay ahead of the curve, and it has 3 prongs: testing, tracing, and trends. This will allow us to identify who has COVID-19, quickly act to stop the spread, and know when we need to dial up or dial down our social distancing policies. So when it comes to testing, we're in a much better place than we were even just a month ago. There are more labs that are doing COVID-19 testing, wait times for results have been drastically reduced, and the shortage of testing supplies has eased. But we're not out of the woods yet. Personal protective equipment, the gowns, the masks, the gloves, continue to be a limiting factor. Those shortages of protective equipment, those gowns and masks, means that we must be judicious in how we use these resources. And that also means it has to be available for our healthcare workers who care for those with COVID-19. Fortunately, we're seeing the private sector do what it does best: innovate. There are new testing methods in development that could be self-administered, reducing the need for protective equipment for testing going forward. I'm looking forward to those developments. In addition, I'm standing up a testing surge work group with leaders from the public and private sector to tackle these issues. This group is charged with developing a plan to increase testing capacity, expand testing sites and options, and address those supply challenges. Tracing is something we know how to do well here in North Carolina. Tracing is when you do that detective work to find all the people and places someone may have been when they were infectious with a disease. Our local health departments already have 250 or so trained professionals with experience doing this detective work. When a person tests positive for COVID-19, tracing efforts help identify who that individual may have been in contact with so that people get tested and take the right precautions not to infect others. Going forward, it will take a much larger team to aggressively trace the contacts of everyone who tests positive for COVID-19. And as the governor mentioned, we're working with partners to ramp up staffing and explore digital tracing technology options. All of this, our testing and tracing, along with additional data, will inform our trends. We need to understand how COVID-19 is impacting our state and impacting specific populations and regions of our state so we can calibrate our response. Last week, we launched our enhanced COVID-19 surveillance tool. We know that laboratory testing is only a part of what we need to do. It only provides a limited snapshot of the number of people with the virus. Our surveillance tools tell us more. We also have a team of data scientists from the private sector who will continue to fine-tune modelings that are based on North Carolina's own demographics and our own experience with the virus. In addition, we're going to need to better understand how many people with COVID-19 that don't have any symptoms and what that looks like, and how many people have already been exposed to the virus. We're going to continue to work with our academic and research partners to paint a more complete picture of this virus in North Carolina. So to recap, widespread testing, aggressive contact tracing, and data-informed policy decisions are our best tools to keep our communities safe and protect our frontline workers. Together, we will stay ahead of the curve. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Dr. Cohen, and appreciate your strong leadership in this arena. We'll now hear from our Director of Emergency Management, Mike Sprayberry. Mike?
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for your leadership. First, I have a bit of information on this week's severe weather. The National Weather Service has now confirmed 12 tornado touchdowns from storms on Sunday and Monday. The most intense was an EF2 tornado in Anson County with winds of about 125 miles per hour. Local officials in Anson County have requested state assistance with a preliminary damage assessment and that work is beginning. Most of the power outages throughout the state from those storms have now been restored. Fewer than 5,000 homes and businesses remain without power, and utilities are working quickly to get those customers back online. The largest concentrations of outages are in Henderson and Transylvania counties. Moving to COVID-19, the State Emergency Operations Center has now been activated for 37 days for the COVID-19 response. We received word from FEMA today that they're sending North Carolina a shipment of N95 masks. That's good news, due to arrive later this week. We also received 2 shipments of face shields today. That's additional good news. We continue to buy other personal protective items wherever we can and supply those items to local medical facilities and first responders. The North Carolina National Guard now has parachute riggers at Simmons Army Airfield sewing masks for all of our activated National Guard soldiers and airmen serving on the COVID-19 response. That's about 300 men and women from the National Guard working on logistics and warehousing, cyber protection, and liaisons to local governments, as well as on a food supply chain work group. I've talked a lot about food banks in recent days. They still need your help in keeping their shelves stocked, and pet food pantries also need your help right now. Many local humane societies and animal rescue groups operate pet food pantries. Please consider a donation to a pet food pantry or food bank if you are able. You can find the food bank near you at feedingthecarolinas.org. For those who have lost work and lost health insurance due to the pandemic, healthcare.gov is the website to visit for health insurance options. Please don't forget to look out for your friends and neighbors and call your loved ones daily. With your help, we'll get through this together as one team, one mission, and one family. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Mike. And again, we appreciate the leadership of you and our Secretary of Department of Public Safety, Secretary Eric Cooks, who's here with me on stage, and all the team here at the Emergency Operations Center, here 24/7 serving the people of North Carolina. We'll now take questions from the media, and if you can identify yourself and your organization, I would appreciate it. We can begin with the first question.
Our first question is from Andrea Blanford, ABC 11.
Hi, Governor. It's Andrea Blanford with ABC 11. Curious if you have already started working with or if you're planning to form or join a coalition of just neighboring states like we've seen happen in the Northeast and in our West Coast regions, where the governors there will act as one to set these types of terms that you've laid out today, setting more specific terms to reopen the state's economy. And on that note, we know that President Trump has referenced May 1st as a date that many states could reopen. Curious what you think about a May 1st reopening of our economy. Is North Carolina one of those states that the president believes is in good enough shape to begin implementing some of these reopening strategies then? Thanks.
Thanks for that question. Excuse me. Something in my throat. I was just on the phone a couple of hours ago with governors from all over the country, and we are exchanging ideas about the best ways to open up our economies while still at the same time protecting the public. I think that these coalitions that some governors have formed are going to exchange ideas. I don't think that there's going to be anything uniform that comes out of it. But we are continuing to talk to other governors about what they're doing, and we know that it's important to talk to them and to see what's happening in other states, because this virus doesn't respect state lines, that's for sure. And we will be talking to, and I have been talking to other states that surround North Carolina, other governors in those states. As for the second part of your question, our executive orders end at the end of April, so we will be making decisions on new executive orders at that time. But as we talked about earlier, we're going to be looking at bringing North Carolina back incrementally, looking at easing the restrictions depending on our ability to test and trace and depending on what the data shows as to our trends with the COVID-19. And we're going to take all of that data, discuss it with healthcare experts and business leaders about the right way to reopen North Carolina's economy. I want to do that as quickly as we possibly can, but we want to do it the right way based on science and data and facts. And that's what we're announcing today, is the considerations that we're going to use in determining how much or whether we ease restrictions in North Carolina and continue opening things back up. We hope to be doing that soon, and we will be discussing this with a number of people across the state and looking at all of this data that we just talked about to make those decisions. Thanks. Next question.
Next question is from Will Duran with the News and Observer.
Yeah, hi there. There have been some questions lately about whether protests should be exempted from the stay-at-home order, and was hoping to ask the governor what he thinks about that issue, if that's something that you're looking into.
Well, first, the executive orders that I've issued do not interfere with people's constitutional rights to express themselves. However, they do deal with people with unlawful mass gatherings and people who are disobeying those orders, because they are put there in order to protect the people of North Carolina, protect people from transferring this virus from one person to the next. And those executive orders are there for public safety, and we expect people to obey those orders wherever they are or whatever they're doing. Next question, please.
Next question is Travis Fain from WRAL.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question. This is Travis at WRAL. Nationally, the talk about how many tests we need a day to kind of reopen things, it's a big number. I think the lowest I've seen is 3 times what we're doing now. Do you have specific numbers for how many tests we'd need to do a day to start reopening versus the number of tests we're doing now? And how quickly can the gap be bridged between those capacities?
The good thing, Travis, is that we are continuing to significantly increase testing in North Carolina. We took this on early, even though we didn't get necessary supplies that we needed from the CDC. We co-opted our private partners, our universities, and now we have a lot of both public and private entities that are performing tests in North Carolina and really ramping that up. On the other side, we're looking at doing more serology tests so that we can identify more people who have contracted the virus and determining our situation of where we are. We know we're going to need more testing, and the partnerships we're going to continue to form are going to ramp that up. But I'll let Dr. Cohen address that as well, because I know she has been working on this, and we've been pleased at the direction that we're heading, that's for sure.
Thank you, Governor. Not a lot to add other than to say that we are lucky here in North Carolina to have very great partners, whether those are our hospital labs or in particular LabCorp, which is a national laboratory company, but being based here at North Carolina allows for some increased partnership. We know that LabCorp is going to be a significant partner in our ability to scale our efforts as we go forward. I was just speaking with their CEO yesterday. They are on our testing surge work group, as are others. I think we want to be diversifying our testing ability, so not just tests that we send to labs, but ones that we can do rapid tests as well. And as the governor mentioned, serology or antibody tests. So it's about diversification as well as throughput that we want to be focused on. And that's the work of the work group. And like I said, I think I see the supply chain improving, but we're not out of the woods yet. It is the personal protective equipment for some of the testing that has generally been our rate limiting factor. The good news on the horizon, as I mentioned in my remarks, is that there are new methods that we see coming down the horizon, I hope very soon, where patients will be able to self-administer these tests, and that means less protective equipment needed. So I think all trends in the right direction, and our working group is just meant to accelerate that, facilitate it, and importantly, to coordinate it so that we are using our time and our resources most efficiently. Thank you.
Next question, please.
Next question is from Bill O'Neill, WXII TV, Winston-Salem.
Bill, are you there?
Let's go ahead to Cole Del Charco from North Carolina Public Radio.
Stop! What is wrong with our damn...
Cole Del Charco with WUNC. I just wanted to ask a question in reference to Senate leaders in the General Assembly's survey How important of a data point is the spot testing that the General Assembly is going to do to test for coronavirus? How important is that going to be to your decision to reopen business in the state?
We need more testing across the board, and our efforts are aimed that way for more diagnostic tests and more serology and antibody tests. I think it's important that all of this be coordinated and that we share data and that we work together. But I know Dr. Cohen has worked some on that, so I'm going to let her address that as well.
Yes, thank you for the question. And not much to add to the governor's remarks is that, yes, we want more testing and different types of testing. And so as we work forward here, not only are we doing increased surveillance based on the longstanding surveillance efforts done across the state for many, many years. We're using that existing surveillance system and beefing it up now for COVID-19. We have our first round of surveillance data that was put out last week. We're also working with our academic partners across the state to do additional testing to understand folks who may be asymptomatic and not coming to attention of our medical system because they have symptoms. We want to understand how many folks have virus out there. So all of those pieces, plus doing the serology testing, which is antibody. That is after someone may have been had COVID-19 to see if they have circulating antibodies. I think all of these pieces are going to be important to help us paint a picture. I think we are going to have this picture evolve over many weeks and months that will help us tailor our decisions. And as we think about those decisions going forward, it's no one decision in one moment in time. We're going to continue to have to understand this as it evolves over time. So as we look to the next weeks, it'll be one set of decisions. Then we will continue to work through this, continue to monitor. I think that's what we want folks to understand, the long-term nature of needing to monitor over a number of months so we understand this virus really until we have a vaccine. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Next question is Elizabeth Ann Brown with the Asheville Citizen-Times.
Hey there, Dr. Cohen. This is kind of piggybacking off of one of your most recent answers. Many of my colleagues on this call and I were on participated in a press conference with Wake Forest Baptist Health regarding their serological program that they're rolling out now and in the future. They indicated to us that it was not part of a collaboration with NCDHHS. How concerned are y'all about fractionation of resources and funding, since that would be, based on what they indicated to us, tens of millions of dollars worth of effort?
Yes, thanks for the question. So we were not aware of the research effort before it was announced yesterday, but our scientists have reached out. We do want to understand that and make sure that we are sharing data and information. Again, I think a coordinated effort is going to make sure that we use our resources most efficiently. I want to make sure we're using the underlying infrastructure that our state has invested in over number of years to do surveillance for disease and how we can leverage that going forward. And coordination and data sharing is always going to be important here because there are going to be different kinds of research that are needed to understand different facets of the virus. I think what Wake Forest Baptist is doing related to serology is one aspect, and it is a time series, is my understanding, over a long period of time of repetitive testing. We're working with partners at UNC and Duke in a different type of methodology. So I think all of these things, importantly, need to come together in a coordinated look at the virus across our state, and so that's how we want to move forward most appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Next question is Morgan Francis, WJZY in Charlotte.
Hey, it's Morgan Francis from WJZY. Thanks for taking my question. This could be for either Governor Cooper or Dr. Cohen. 2 weeks ago, Atrium and Novant Healthcare Systems requested the need for field hospitals for 600 beds. They have now said that they don't need the field hospital anymore. Do you feel like with the data fluctuating on a daily basis that local hospitals are acting too soon, or do you feel like their move is appropriate? Thank you.
It's critically important that we make sure that we have enough hospital beds to deal with a surge of COVID-19 patients, as well as enough ICU beds. And I've been pleased with our hospitals across North Carolina that have done a lot of work to surge within their own walls and with their own ambulatory surgery centers and to cut back on elective procedures in order to increase the amount of beds that they have. This is another data point where we've been able to use modeling to determine how many beds we may need out into the future. And so they're going to make decisions based upon this modeling and how we go forward in a way to put their money in the right kinds of places. So I think that they are making good decisions here based upon looking at their data. They're certainly making them in coordination with us. We want to be available to make sure that we have these alternative hospital sites if we need them, but you don't want to invest them if it doesn't look like that you're going to need them, but you want to be ready to go in case that you do. And Dr. Cohen, you may want to add something on that. Okay. Thank you very much. Next question.
Next question is from Alma McCarty with WFMY in Greensboro.
Hi there, Governor. This is Alma McCarty with WFMY News 2 in Greensboro. I wanted to hear your thoughts on what counties locally wanting to take over the coronavirus restrictions once the stay-at-home order expires at the end of the month. We've heard in the triad that there might be a few counties who want to make decisions based on the risk in their own territory.
Thanks for that question. It's so important for us as a state to work closely with our local governments, both our counties and our cities, and I think that working relationship has been good. This virus does not respect county borders, and I think it's important for the state to set a floor on the kind of protections that we need for North Carolina, and that's what our executive orders have done. I think it's okay if local governments want to go further than that and want to increase restrictions because their particular areas may be denser, or they may denser with people, or they may need to take some other additional protections for their area. But I do think that it is important for us to have a floor that the state sets. And I have responded to county commissioners who have asked me about that. And of course, I want to continue to work together with them and to get their input on what is happening in their counties, because we are going to be making decisions, and we're hoping that we can ease these restrictions based upon the formulas that we've set, and we certainly want those counties' input. Thank you. Next question.
Next question is from Kate Martin with Carolina Public Press.
Good afternoon, Governor. My name's Kate Martin. I'm with Carolina Public Press. I have a question regarding nursing homes and congregate facilities. So far, 80% of the deaths for COVID are people who are over 65, and presumably many of those live in these congregate facilities. I'd like to know what percentage of people who've tested positive so far are actually in these congregate facilities. And I know that includes jails and a few other categories. I'm hoping you can answer that. Thank you.
We know this virus is highly contagious, and therefore we have put a lot of attention on these congregate facilities, places like nursing homes, rest homes, and prisons. We know that particularly in the nursing homes and rest homes, you have more of the at-risk population, and we know how fast it can spread. This is why we've worked very hard to limit visitation, to stop common areas where they're eating or gathering, working hard to identify people who test positive for COVID, isolating them, treating them with a separate staff. And we know that this has been a problem all over the country, and we want to continue to address. But I'll let Dr. Cohen answer that additionally as well.
Thank you for the question, and I know in my press conference yesterday with Director Sprayberry that I was asked the same thing, and so our team is working to pull together that data. I don't have it yet, but we are working on being able to help folks understand what deaths may have come from folks who are living in nursing homes, so stay tuned for more data. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Our last question today will be from Michael Hyland with CBS 17.
Hi, Governor. I just want to follow up on the question earlier regarding the protests that occurred in Raleigh yesterday. I understand those protesters are planning to come back. To be clear, under your executive order, is any sort of protest considered non-essential at this point? Do people have a right to go to public places and protest decisions you make?
Our executive order doesn't address First Amendment rights. Our executive order addresses mass gatherings, and it addresses mass gatherings that would occur under any circumstances. And this is in order to protect people's public health and to try to slow the spread of this virus. And these mass gathering bans are in most states in North Carolina because they are one of the best protections that we have in order to slow the spread of the virus. Thank you all very much for tuning in to this press conference, and we'll be back soon. Please stay safe, everybody. Thank you very much.
basketball coach Danny Manning and pro tennis player John Isner are just a few athletes who played at Page. Harder's only been the athletic director for about a year, but he wants to honor former Pirates who brought the school success, and he hopes the Hall of Fame will inspire his current students.
It's a thing. You know, Page High School, it's a thing, and it means so much to so many people. And I think that this is a unique way to celebrate those people that helped establish Page what it is today, but also for our current Page community to recognize and realize all of the successful people and teams that have come through here in the past. And I think it's really something cool for our student athletes as well. It's neat to see kids look up and realize, hey, that could be me one day. You know, I could leave a legacy here at Page High School.
Page hopes to have the first class selected by the summer and then inducted by the fall. Now, Matt Harder also says that the class will be 10 to 12 members for the first class and for the first couple maybe, and then they'll go to a smaller group.
ESPN is reporting players and employees in Major League Baseball are stepping up to help with coronavirus research by voluntarily participating in a 10,000-person antibody study. Now, researchers will be using pinpricks on fingers to draw blood from participants, and if the blood sample has antibodies against coronavirus, the person likely had the virus. The study is helping researchers understand how the virus spreads across metropolitan areas. The San Francisco Giants, Arizona Diamondbacks, and Oakland Athletics all participated in that study so far.
You know, we're looking at clear skies. It is beautiful out there. In fact, just a moment ago, I saw a behind the scenes kind of look at Tim Buckley setting up his shot from home, and it is beautiful out there. He's outside in the backyard. Let's see what's happening with our forecast. I'm jealous. You're looking at clear skies heading into the night tonight. Sunshine tomorrow, and look at these temperatures now. It will be chilly. We are clear, but we are clear and cold for tomorrow morning. 34 degrees, 55 by midday with that lots of sunshine actually. Maybe a cloud in the afternoon, but highs are in the low to mid 60s across the region. That's not bad. You can see the high pressure ridge pretty much doing its job and clearing things out. But as far as overnight, we have that frost advisory for just about the entire viewing area, except for our Southern Virginia counties and the mountain communities. Everybody else under that until 8 o'clock. It means you need to water your plants during the day, cover them at night. By the way, don't cover them with plastic. That does just the opposite. It needs to be fabric, something that can breathe, a sheet or something like that. And then, of course, you take that fabric off after sunrise, or you can do damage as well. So keep that in mind as you head into the night. Plants are at a risk tonight with that frost advisory.
Coming up on WFMY News 2 at 5 o'clock, Winston-Salem extended its stay-at-home order to May 7th. Could Greensboro and Guilford County do the same? We talked to leaders about their plans coming up on WFMY News 2 at 5.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. You know, a lot of our favorite mom and pop businesses and restaurants, they're struggling. Nobody wants to see them close. The ones that are considered institutions in their communities, they're really considered the heartbeat of their town or city. They hold so many memories for us. One such place in Alamance County is truly an institution. It's holding on, due mostly to an owner who said he's going to adapt in ways he never dreamed of. Here's the history on that place and what he's doing to change.
So this is really unique. George Katsoudas of Skids Restaurant in Burlington, Elon area, they're doing something a little different here, but they have a history that you would not believe. George is with us today. George, you guys have been around since the 1940s, and you told me just the other day that you guys decided not only can we provide meals for people that want to come by, but you've taken it a step further, and now you're almost like a market. Tell me about that.
You know, I'm not marketing the restaurant to say, hey, we can do really good by selling paper towels or toilet paper or sanitizers. I'm doing it because people need it. There's a shortage out there. If I can still purchase it through my suppliers, why not? If you come through the restaurant and you need to buy a meal for your family and then you see that I have toilet paper or hand sanitizers, absolutely I'll sell it to you because you need it. There's a need for it.
And you told me also, real quick, just a few seconds left, but you were saying that you're almost like a meat market now. How's that working?
Yes. So the grocery stores are shortage on meats, and there's people who can't find it. They asked somebody called up one day and said, "Can I buy meats from you?" I said, "Absolutely." He wanted ribeyes. I didn't have it, but you know what? The very next day, I purchased it, came in.
That's great.
And ever since, we're going on a month now, and we've done well with it.
That's great, man. Well, it's, you know, businesses like yours that have been around a long time that are doing great things for small communities. Thanks, George. Thanks for your time.
No, we appreciate it very much. And again, that's what we're all here for. Small business is what's made America great.
It's true.
Yeah, he's that business, by the way, has been open since 1949, the drive-through portion of that, because there were several different Skid restaurants. But 1949, and his dad came across it, I believe, in the 60s. It is an institution. He says he will never stop adapting to help the community that he loves. So they may make it through. He had an interesting point, Mandy, real quick. He said the restaurants that can make it through, the small mom and pops, people won't forget that they were always there for them.
Yeah, Eric, you mentioned 1949. Just imagine how much that restaurant has had to change over the last many years. And you hit the nail on the head. Adaptation and ingenuity. It sounds like he keeps coming up with new ideas and new business models to really keep Skids relevant.
It's true. It's true. All right, I put this question on Facebook. I said, what are some of the mom and pops and the institutions that you love in your area? Which ones are the heartbeats of your community? Here's what you had to say. Beth Johnson says, Bill's Pizza in Oak Ridge, that's not far from me, has done a grand job keeping us fed by takeout. Side note, it is run mostly by teenagers that do a remarkable job. Good job there, Beth. Linda Lawson says, in Stoneville, it's Debbie's Restaurant. The owners there are working hard with a great setup to keep feeding us in this area. Francis Murray says, Dickey's Food in Haw River still open for takeout. They have a good food truck as well, and they're taking food around the area to help people when they can. And finally, Cindy Shue Hatchell chimes in with a laundry list here. I can only show part of it. It went on and on. She said Zach's Hot Dog, Skids 2, Harbor Inn, The Park. They're all in Burlington. Then Graham Soda Shop and Mykonos of Graham's. And also she mentioned George's restaurant there, Skids Elon. So lots of good places out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it earlier, but now really is the time where we need to focus on small businesses and make sure if we're going to spend money, we spend it with them, because they're the people who are going to come back when we're able to reopen everything and really give the economy a jump start.
Absolutely, and every local area has those 3 or 4 eateries, in some cases 10 or 20 of them, that everyone loves, and it's our job to help keep them going.
Yeah, I found myself, back when I used to order takeout, I would say, oh gosh, I ate out so many times this week, but now I'm like, I'm a local hero. I'm supporting small businesses. I'm just doing my duty as a member of the community, patting myself on the back.
See? That's the way I look at it. Now eating is a good thing. Eating is paying for a meal is a good thing.
Yes, and delivery. All the restaurants who are delivering, thank you so much, because they're doing us a favor, protecting us so we don't have to go out, so we can follow the rules and stay home as much as we can. So thank you for everyone who's doing that as well. All right, don't forget we are live streaming right now on Facebook. Chilton's silent. It's just weird for me. I was waiting for him to say something else, but we'll head to break. We are live streaming right now on our Facebook page. Use our hashtag 4 to 5.
Doesn't happen often.
Okay.
Hi, I'm here. The intro to Jess is at 5. The stay-at-home order in Guilford does not expire tomorrow.
Michael approved it.
Hello, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, the Buckley Weather Garden is open for business. How's everybody doing?
Hello? I know, I just heard her. It does expire tomorrow, the 16th.
Instead, it's opted for a pass or withdrawal grading system, but parents say they still have questions. Guilford County decided against letter grades. Yes, I can hear you, because I don't think she can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay.